Welcome to the Bill Sang podcast. My name is Bill Sang, and it has been a long year. It's been a while since I have done any updates, and so this is the first podcast I've done in a long time, and there's quite a bit to get to, so I'm going to try to get you up to speed. Kind of what I want to talk about as we progress is about Donald Trump getting elected president again. Wow, that was quite a surprise. I was pretty surprised myself, pleasantly surprised, as I think that's going to be a great thing for the country and for the economy. And we'll talk about some of the ins and outs of that. And overall, I think it's going to be a fantastic thing kicking off 2025. But also, I wanted to update you a little bit about kind of what I've been through this past year, as my family and I have taken a pastoral position at a new church. When I say new church, the church has been around for a while. It's Finley Grace Brethren Church, and so it's just a real blessing being able to serve out there right now. As it's something different. As you know, I was previously serving at a Presbyterian church, and it's funny. I mean, I to an extent, I miss the days where I could sit in the congregation and not have to worry about the theology that that the church endorses, the denomination endorses. And for quite some time, I mean, I've never been a Presbyterian, particularly I've never been a PCUSA Presbyterian. And for quite some time, I really wrestled with that quite a bit. And now we're at Finley Grace Brethren Church, which is part of the Charis Fellowship, which is actually a non-denominational fellowship of churches that are united around a similar core of ideas. And so I'm very blessed to be able to be here, as it's more conservative, which I'm grateful for. That they embrace a lot of the same interpretation of the Bible that I do, thank God, and that's something that's just tremendous. And the people at the church are great as well. So if you're looking for a church, I'd like to throw that out there for you. Finley Grace Brethren Church is a good place to go, so you can pull us up online and check out one of our services sometimes. I look forward to being able to see some of you at Finley Grace Brethren Church if that is something that you would like to check out. Also, I'd like to talk a little bit about what happened to me about 3/4 of the way through the year. I ended up tearing my Achilles tendon. So that has been a struggle. It's been a real challenge having to deal with being someone who has an injury as severe as that. And it's amazing to me. A lot of people misunderstand what a ruptured Achilles tendon means. And throughout the time that I've been injured, especially early on, I've had a lot of people say, yeah, I've torn my Achilles before, and it turns out being a meniscus, or it turns out being something totally different. It wasn't the Achilles tendon. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you right now, tearing your Achilles tendon is not a good experience. It's something that I wish I could have done without surgery, that would have just healed on its own. It does not. It is something that makes it almost impossible to walk, and at least impossible to walk without either a severe limp or a crutch or a cane, anything like that. I basically, if I did not get surgery, I would not be able to run again, unless I want to look kind of goofy when I run, where I'm doing kind of a hop. I don't even know if doing like sort of a hop skip sort of run would even be palatable, as it was something that I absolutely had zero push off of my left foot. So I could take the step and plant my foot, in which I would experience a lot of pain, and then I would be unable to push off of that foot. So that foot would be stuck on the ground, so I'd have to lift it up, transferring my weight quickly to my back foot, so I'd basically be able to move a few inches at a time. So I do not recommend that. I've noted that Deshaun Watson from the Cleveland Browns had the same injury, and I got to watch that numerous times as he fell, and they showed a close-up of his Achilles tendon tearing. You could see it happening through his uniform, and it was, man, it was brutal. I felt bad for the guy. I know that he's got a lot of issues. I know that he's not perfect. I know that he has done some things that are horrendous. Nonetheless, watching his Achilles tendon tour, I couldn't help but have a degree of compassion toward him, as I just thought that it was just a really tough break for him. And odds are he's probably not going to be able to play for the Browns anymore. I mean, I heard that his contract's not up, so they might have him back. But for the past 2 years, he's hardly played any games, and they're just losing a lot of money on him. So I don't know what the Browns are going to do there. But Nonetheless, the Achilles tendon tear I can totally relate to. It's one of the worst athletic injuries that you can have, and I actually tore mine while playing just a game of knockout in basketball, and yeah, it was kind of embarrassing, and it's kind of hard having to be a guy around my age on crutches and having to tough it out, and people not thinking you're toughing it out. It's kind of difficult having to deal with the looks and comments, and sometimes people just don't get it. Sometimes people think that you should be able to do more than what you actually can. I mean, I'm not used to being in a situation where I can't lift something. I've had a lot of people tell me, "Well, gratefully you didn't tear your, or grateful you didn't twist your ankle." I tell you what, I much would have preferred a twisted ankle or a sprained ankle. I've had a lot of sprained ankles, a lot of twisted ankles. Never once did I go on crutches for those. I wrestled with twisted ankles. I've played ultimate frisbee with twisted ankles. I played football with twisted ankles and fared just fine. Just as soon as you get the adrenaline going, you're just fine in those situations. At least I was. Maybe that's not your experience, and I'm not judging you for that. That's just my experience. I just never really had any difficulty with those. But when it came to my Achilles tendon, man, it was like my world came crashing down. I couldn't even lift like boxes and stuff off the ground because of how bad the injury was, and how much it hurt to try to put any sort of weight on it whatsoever. And it's one of the few injuries that I had where I told everybody that on a scale from 1 to 10, it was a 10 as far as pain, meaning the worst it could possibly be, and had a hard time sleeping and everything. It's a brutal, brutal injury. Nonetheless, lots of blessings through it. People kind of pull together around you. You find out who really cares about you quite a bit during these times. I'm grateful for my church. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for friends, and grateful for the elders as well, who helped me out during some difficult times, trying to navigate with all the stuff going on with surgery and everything else that was just a mess behind the scenes. So, bottom line is, if you're going to get injured, I do not recommend tearing your Achilles tendon, and I've heard that it's even worse to tear your ACL. So don't do those things. Those are really bad things to do. But I'm really excited. I'm able to stand up on my own power now with the boot on. And so that's cool. And I'm looking very forward to, again, just very looking forward to this next year of being able to just enjoy being able to walk again, I suppose, and being able to preach the way I like to preach, and being able to do the things that I like to do with my family, and then some. So finally, I want to get to Donald Trump here. Donald Trump. Wow. I was blown away with the results of the election. I am somebody that was not particularly convinced that the 2020 election was on the up and up. As a result of that, I did not know what to expect with the 2024 election. And I know a lot of people say, well, you see, Donald Trump won this election, therefore the last election had to be an honest election, had to be a fair election. I disagree. I still don't think so. I still think that the 2020 election was a sham, was not fair, was not good. And the difference is that a lot of laws changed since then. A lot of laws were ignored back then, and measures were taken to make sure that those measures were not ignored once again. So Donald Trump won the election, and I think that is fantastic. I'm excited about that. I think that lots of good things are going to happen. It's been exciting watching who he's been picking for key positions inside of his administration. DOGE, particularly DOGE, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, headed up by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. So Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, they are very capitalistic with the way they think. I remember when Elon Musk took over Twitter that his prime objective was to make sure that things were running efficiently. He saw a lot of waste going on over at Twitter, changed the name to X, and made sure that if people were going to work for Twitter, that they actually had to work and not just flaunt how much money they're making by going to the coffee bar. So I think that they're going to be a great addition to Donald Trump's team. You have Kash Patel. I can't remember exactly what his role was in past administrations, but I'm hearing really good things about him, that he's going to be a no-nonsense sort of guy. He's going to be somebody who should be able to straighten out the FBI. I'm hoping that's true. I really don't know a whole lot about him. Then you have Tulsi Gabbard as well. I can't remember what position she's going to have in his administration, but nonetheless, I was not particularly fond at first of Tulsi Gabbard months and months back. About a year ago, I know that she really tore apart Kamala Harris during the uh, debates years back. I didn't. The fact that she was in the Democrat primary made me automatic. I mean, people started saying great things about her because she really picked apart Kamala Harris, particularly. I mean, and man, yeah, she did a fantastic job exposing her record as the DA for California, and how, on the one hand, and I thought this was a brilliant takedown in a debate. And mind you, I know that people say, "Oh, you're a pastor; you shouldn't like takedowns in this nature." Well, I mean, it's for president of the United States. I mean, they got to expose one another's records and stuff. It can't be, dancing around the issues. We want the best person possible to be in office. We don't want somebody who's going to be speaking out of both sides of their mouth. And so, Kamala Harris, what she was doing is she was saying that, I mean, well, Tulsi Gabbard pointed out. On the one hand, Tulsi Gabbard pointed out um, that Kamala Harris was prosecuting and putting people behind bars, like serious charges, even really, putting them away for a long time for what we would call minor drug offenses, marijuana violations, more or less. And she was bragging about how hard she was on crime and everything as the DA for California. But then on the other hand, she goes on this podcast. I can't remember, it's called The Morning Show or something like that. And she was bragging about smoking marijuana back in college. Now, there's been a lot of dispute. Did that really happen? Didn't it really happen? Lots of dispute about whether that was a true story even. But it was something that Kamala Harris claimed that she did. And so, she's claiming that she's locking up people for long periods of time, and bragging about it for doing something that she herself was doing. So Tulsi Gabbard, I'm pretty excited about that pick, and I've had a chance to listen to her since then. I wasn't too excited about her at that moment after the debates. It's like, okay, whatever. They're jockeying for position inside the Democrat Party, and I'm not fond of the Democrat Party. I think they got a terrible platform. Nonetheless, I've heard her talk a number of times since then, and she really does sound like she's a pro-America person, like the type of person that thought that there's still a glimmer of hope left inside the Democrat Party. Now, I don't recall exactly what her strong points were for staying a Democrat as long as she did, because she stayed a Democrat for quite a while. But as a number of people, oh yeah, and RFK, I forgot to mention about RFK, of course, Robert Kennedy Jr. The people like her and him, that they just really saw that the Democrat Party had lost its way big time, to the degree that if you align yourself with them right now, you're just aligning yourself with just a very, very bad entity that's destructive to America. I mean, all you got to do is look at the past 4 years. I mean, we're starting to see, we saw a sign go up on our local Big Lots that say that it's closing. I mean, the devastation, all the businesses that have closed just within this past year alone has been devastating to our community. So the fact that Donald Trump got elected is no big surprise. Now, there are two things that I am hesitant about. Two things that I think are worth bringing up. Then I'm curious to see how they go in the upcoming administration. Because I want to point out real fast, and I'll address this first. I'll address, but you don't know what I'm going to say yet, but I'm still going to say, I'm going to put that other thing on the back burner for a moment. And I'm going to address these people that Donald Trump is filling positions with. Doge. I mean, there's a fascinating connection. Tulsi Gabbard and, let's see here. Tulsi Gabbard, you got Tulsi Gabbard and Vivek Ramaswamy, I know for a fact, are both Hindu. And you know what? For the sake of America, I think that's great. I think it's cool to have diversity as long as merit is on top of diversity. find it fascinating that now we're having this Hindu influence in high government levels. And, again, frankly, I'm okay with it in terms of policy, in terms of governing the United States of America according to the rule of law and keeping these in check. In fact, here's kind of a story. I don't know if I call it a story or not, but I actually had a pretty good Indian friend at one of the places where I used to work. And we had a lot in common values wise. When we got done theology, there was differences, of course, but in terms of just straight up values, in terms, if we were to take out spirituality, except for the fact that we value spirituality, we value faith, religion. Aside from, take out the specifics of spirituality, that we aligned very well on a lot of political issues, and I was very impressed by that because I did not expect to have as much in common with an Eastern religion as what I was having. And so I was very blown away that there's so much commonality there. And when I think about Tulsi Gabbard and I think about Vivek Ramaswamy, I don't see that as necessarily being a negative thing in terms of the direction of the company the country. Now, in terms of the overall demographics of America, I think that it's kind of revealing. I think there is kind of a growing segment of our population of Hinduism, and Christianity seems to have been on a decline for a while. And to me, that's a little bit troubling because it's in Jesus Christ that we have salvation. I mean, when we look at other religions, you take something like Hinduism, not to say anything bad against it, but it's a religion that believes in reincarnation and not in the salvation through Jesus Christ, not in the resurrection that we're going to experience one day through faith in Jesus Christ. And so there is a totally different approach to the world where our highest duty is to honor God, glorify Him, to live for Him. That for the Hindu, it's carrying out their duty. And I know that claims have gone around that the caste system has been done away with, but actually that's not entirely true. But that's a little more complicated than what I'm wanting to get into right now, and I don't know too much about the ins and outs of all of that, but I've heard from pretty credible sources that the caste system is alive and operating. Nonetheless, in America, we are the land of opportunity. And adding their ideas, if they're good ideas, to the equation, again, like I said, I can't be more excited about the fact, that we're going to be incorporating their ideas into our government, and they're going to be able to contribute in such a great way. Nonetheless, also indicative of the times that we're in, it almost seemed that for Trump to win this election, I don't know how much weight this carried, but he had to compromise on a very serious issue, and that being the pro-life platform of the Republican Party. And the pro-life platform has its roots also in our Christian faith. And as a result of that, I'm very conflicted in terms of we got the win in the election, but at the expense of sacrificing such in my opinion, the most important moral issue of our day. It's kind of sad. Nonetheless, what I will say is Donald Trump, he's not somebody that is easy to figure out in terms of okay, so he sacrificed that from the platform. Does that mean he's no longer pro-life? No, I don't think so. I think that he still is pro-life as what he was before, but he understood that from what we were seeing from elections after Roe v. Wade got overturned, that, well, we need to do something to save the Republican Party, so we took it off the platform. I get it. Can you still take it off the platform and still have a strong pro-life movement? Absolutely. Why not? But what we saw is that state after state after state was voting down pro-life measures inside of their constitutions and were approving of more pro-abortion measures inside of their constitutions. And that was very disturbing. And so it almost seemed like we had to sacrifice that issue, the most important issue, in order to win the election. And again, I'm very conflicted about that. I don't like that. And I can't be any more clear about that. I just don't like that. Nonetheless, I think that Donald Trump is going to govern in such a way that we're going to see good things happen on the pro-life front, because it's not a matter of dictating policy that's pro-life. It's creating a movement and a culture where abortion is abhorrent. So we don't have to make another, really, we do not need to make another law banning abortion to make abortion disappear from our country. We don't have to do that. And I mean in terms of legally. Of course there's going to be illegal abortions if people so want it. Nonetheless, we don't have to pass another law in order to make abortion stop. We need a cultural movement. We need people to understand why pro-life. It's not something about controlling women's bodies. It has nothing to do with controlling anybody, but protecting the life inside of the womb, protecting that life that came about as a result of conception. And by the way, I do have to throw this in there. Whenever I hear that we're robbing women of their choice, I'm sorry. It's like I'll go as high as to say 5%, and that's an exaggeration. That 5% of pregnancies are undesired in terms of a result of forced rape or whatever. That being the case, that's a very small number. In fact, it's more like 1%, if that even. And so when we look at the normal situation, most abortions are not happening because women are exercising a right to choose to abort something that was conceived through crime, through violation. Rather, they're choosing to abort something because of their own irresponsibility. Because they were choosing to create a baby, do the process that creates a baby, without accepting the responsibility that a baby could be conceived through the act. And so I think that it's nonsense that we call this other movement pro-choice. It's not pro-choice, it's pro-abortion. And I think that we need to, in this new year, move forward in the pro-life movement inside of the church. We need to make it clear why we are pro-life. In fact, I think that we need to do things to make it clear that we do value women's lives, women's choices, women's health, and make it clear that having an abortion has nothing to do with women's health care. So, having said all that, I'm very excited about Donald Trump. I think that all the things that he's going to be doing, that he's talking about, finishing the border wall, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, these are going to be things that, I was wondering, how on earth are we going to, because once food prices go up, it's really hard to get them down. I don't know if they ever go down. And I'm thinking, even if he does take office, how is he going to offset that? And he's finding all of these creative ways to undercut taxes for the sake of helping people to pay their grocery bills. And to tell the truth, that and oil are the two biggest things. And with oil, he's going to open up the Keystone Pipeline again. My goodness, I just named 3 things there. Border wall, Keystone Pipeline, grocery prices. My goodness. Just those things, 3 things alone get me excited about Donald Trump taking office, as our country has experienced extreme devastation over the past 4 years. So I'm looking very forward to Donald Trump. I'm looking very forward to his administration and to see where these people, Doge, Patel, Gabbard, Kennedy, and the other ones that he is selecting as well, what all they're going to do, the positive impact that I believe they're going to have. And by the way, this is something that's almost like a dream team of people that Donald Trump is appointing to head up these different departments, as they aren't your run-of-the-mill swamp creatures, so to speak, that are just in it for themselves, but rather these are true believers in the things that they're doing. I'm looking very forward to seeing what they do in this new year once Donald Trump gets inaugurated. So, once again, this is the Bill Seng Podcast. I am Bill Seng. I thank you for joining me for today's episode. Be blessed.